Get your pen and paper ready. It's time for another edition of The Flex. The absolute best fantasy football podcast in existence.
So I'll say this, not to say that I disagree, but
I disagree.
Oh my God.
Presented by Broadway Sports.
all right, Flexers ready? All right, well, let's get to it. Welcome on into The Flex, brought to you by Broadway Sports Media, partnered with 440 Sports. Head on over to BroadwaySportsMedia.com for all of our great content. I'll tell you, this week it was a close shave for our sit-start results. We'll get to those in just a little bit.
Oh, is that your transition? You're not even saying my name. Can we start over and you actually say? I thought you were going to say Zach. Speaking of close
good idea.
shaves.
I just spilled White Claw.
Oh my God.
No, we don't get to start over. This goes all in.
Oh.
They love this part of our show. No, I'm kidding. I'll start over.
Me, did you not just say that you were going to say, speaking of close shaves?
He did say that, and
say
then,
okay.
but he didn't follow it up with anything.
No. He said then you can
He said-
jump in
right.
with.
Oh, I
You
just got to
say-
jump in.
Yeah.
You jump in with,
Oh.
speaking of close shaves or something like
Well,
whatever.
yeah, but you guys say it.
Did I not
He-
say it was a
no,
close
you
shave?
you did say
I say
close
we keep
shave,
all of
and
this.
then it went.
Let's just use all of this. It'll be great content. Zach, hit
Zach,
us with your ad.
Speaking of the results of the sit start this week, it was a close shave of who edged out for the win. Is that good enough?
Speaking of close shaves, both of our presidential candidates are closely clean shaven. And I think that would be an important time right now to talk about an important choice as Americans that we all have to make. And it's that time of the year where either you can bide your time or pull a trump card and clean up your roster. And here's what I'm going to say. You have to keep the boys that hold the balls tidy. And that's where Manscaped.com comes in with the Lawnmower 3.0. The closest, cleanest, tidiest shave that your sack that holds your men in place can get. You can go all the way up in your shower, just shave away, just go, and it doesn't matter because it's 100% waterproof. And not only that, you're never to get the tangles, none of that pulling, none of that razor burn, none of that. All up in there, clean, smooth, where she's going to be like, hey there, boy. Or he's going to be like, hey there, boy. It doesn't matter who it is because it all is good for your genitals. And let me say this. You can go to manscaped.com, get 20% off and free shipping with code BroadwayTN. That's BroadwayTN.com. Well, you don't put the .com in, but you can go there and just hang out. Probably going to get a 502 error. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, go to manscaped.com, 20% off. Free shipping. BroadwayTN, manscaped.com. What else do you need? Just a little bit of clean shave. It's not really a shave. It's more of a trim because you don't want to go full on Luke Picard on the balls. You want to go a little bit. Listen, I see that Justin is trying to wave me on, but I watched, what's this? There's some guy on YouTube that does these ads, and he goes on for 5 minutes.
That's
so,
a skippable ad.
Skippable ad. This is not
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, I wasn't given the option to skip it.
Zach's watching the whole ad every
I
time.
watched the whole ad. It didn't give me an option to skip it.
I just want to watch our Among Us highlights. Good Lord.
Well, you know what you can't skip? Good ball hygiene. Do not skip good ball hygiene.
That is
Go
a
to manscaped.com, 20% off, free shipping, code BroadwayTN.
that's a lot to learn there. Fantastic. I love it.
For everybody.
For everybody. Take care of your balls. Speaking of take care of things, let's take care of the show a little bit, get back on track here a little bit after this wonderful intro that we've had. We had our most views ever this last week on YouTube. So we're doing something right. It's entertaining. This is great. I love it. But we're going to get to our segment, our very first segment here. What did we learn? And Greenlaw, I don't think I've ever kicked it to you first. So in fair play here, kick us off with something that you've learned.
Wow, I'm truly honored, Ryan. So thank you.
Should
What
be.
I learned this week is that you were wrong about Josh Allen, and the rest of us were right. He sucks. He had 14 of 27 this week for 122 yards. That's horrible. And I also learned a little fun fact here. Kirk Cousins is almost on pace to pull off a Jameis Winston. Right now, he is on pace to throw 29 touchdowns and 27 interceptions. And as we know, a Jameis Winston is a 30 for 30 season. So it's within reach for Kirky. And if he keeps on throwing 3 first half interceptions, he'll get there easily.
So another documentary season incoming.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. JG,
It's must watch football for sure.
must watch football. All right, JG, quickly over to you. What did you learn?
I learned that sometimes the matchup is not as important as the player, and that you should always start your studs. But even then, Antonio Gibson and Terry McLaurin kind of will let you down. So the matchup's still important. It's not just like I can start Terry McLaurin every single week. Like, the matchup's still important.
Yeah, that's real important. We'll get to mine too, Zach, but go ahead. You first.
Well, I learned that I was right and you were wrong, Ryan, about Juju Smith-Schuster. And Juju has one game over 85 yards since Antonio Brown left, who Antonio Brown is about to, I don't know, go to the Seahawks or something. He hasn't been around for like a year and a half or something. Like, Juju Smith-Schuster sucks. Me and Greenlaw both said they would, much like Josh Allen. But you touted the flame. You carried it like an Olympian about to light the torch at the 1996 Atlanta field grounds. I don't know what they call it. I kind of lost it there. But either way, you know who else lost it? Juju Smith-Schuster. Don't know when, but he lost it.
Yeah, I'm not real proud of it. I'm done with him. He couldn't even get me a win in the flex last week, so I'm done with it. I'm not even play the sound effect for him.
To be honest, I was going to go Dallas Cowboys defense, but Greenlaw went with dogging on you, so I kind of just took that again.
Yeah, my technology is working wonderfully again for me tonight. So yeah, this is great. Well, let's get to what I learned and to play off what you said, JG, about always play your studs. Right, that should be a rule. Always play your studs. I mean, we're come to think that I learned that it's not proper to make assumptions in fantasy football, because last week on this show I said I had 2 tough choices with what I had left to pick from in my sit starts for quarterbacks, and I said out loud Aaron Rodgers was matchup proof. Guys, he scored 0 points. He wasn't hurt. He played the whole game. I checked. I thought for sure he went out in the first drive. He did a McCringleberry dance or whatever, hit thrust, which I thought was a touchdown, but I don't even know why he was dancing.
It got overturned, and then Aaron Jones punched it in from the 1-inch line.
Did it really?
0 points.
He really did that, and it got overturned? Even I didn't know that.
Yep.
0.
And I know everything.
So that's what I learned. I learned not make something.
Right.
So that's what we learned this week. But we do owe some people some apologies. I'm not going to apologize for my stance on Juju Smith-Schuster because I'm just done with him. I was wrong. I'll admit it. I'm not going to apologize for it.
Well, shouldn't you apologize to the people that you steered wrong?
I felt like my basis and my facts were great, but no, you know what? Moving on. But trying to transition to this, we do owe some other apologies. So, JG, you look like you have something to say there, or do you want to kick us off with our apologies?
No, I was just talking about like Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, not to be off track, but like to defend the talented player that he is. His role is just not. I mean, for fantasy purposes, he's lost. But for talent purposes, when he's a Tennessee Titan next year to replace Corey Davis, it'll all be fine.
We'll see. I'm done with him. I don't want him on the Titans. I'm done with him. He's made me look horrible for too long.
Poor choice. Poor choice.
As such a roundabout error.
Going though, I'm okay.
As such a roundabout way to get to be like, oh, I was kind of wrong, but I'm gonna be right in 2021. That's
not right or wrong. I'm just saying. I mean,
you're definitely wrong in 2020.
Justin, wherever he's at, I don't even know where he is on screen. Anyway. Who do you owe an apology to, though, JG?
I owe an apology to. This hurts me to say it because the Lions are an offense that any smart person would back in fantasy football. So my apology is, of course, to Zach and Greenlaw for thinking for some reason that I was not on the Lions bandwagon anymore. So I'm not going to apologize
Wow.
to the Lions
Wow.
for abandoning
All right.
them.
Just
I
pause right
wish-
there. We're going to
listen.
roll the clip from
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago. It's going right here.
I was so high on the Lions, especially after they beat the Cardinals. I was like, all right, the Lions found their stride. Here we go. This is going to be what we kind of thought more or less going into the season.
Pause the
heard
podcast.
it.
If you're listening audio only, pause the podcast, go to the video, and see our reactions to this asinine statement by Justin, who is giving out of his ass kind of an apology right now, because we all know before the show started that this guy was still struggling with his sit start and what he was going to do. So now he pulls a half-assed apology to apologize to us for abandoning the bandwagon, but us perceiving that he abandoned the bandwagon. Like, give me a break.
Wag that band. Wag that band.
Not to-
On my list.
But it did seem like you were making it up on the spot when you were starting, because you kind of took your time getting into it. And I was
Well, I
like,
was trying to I didn't want to give away I wanted to make it sound like I was
okay,
related to the Lions.
Yeah.
well, I
Listen.
apologize to our viewers for having to sit through that. And Greenlaw, keep us going.
Yeah, me too. So I would like to make a really sincere apology. Justin's was crap. I mean, I don't think anything else needs to be said about it. But I'd like to apologize to Mike McCarthy. I thought Mike McCarthy was a bad coach. I thought he handled in Green Bay the Rodgers situation poorly, and just the team generally really, really poorly. It was a toxic situation. He got fired, took a step back from the game a little bit. You know, he got analytics all over himself, and then he became a changed man. You know, turns out analytics don't help you when you're just a bad coach to begin with. So I'm sorry, Michael. I undersold you as a terrible coach.
I like it.
And I'm sorry that you got analytics spilled all over your face.
I mean, it's a personal choice, I guess.
You know what? I want to piggyback off that and apologize to the people really quick, because I wrote on BroadwaySportsMedia.com my preseason bets that Mike McCarthy was my best bet for Coach of the Year. And while I was
Did you
insanely,
really? I need to subscribe to this website. What website is this?
it's www.BroadwaySportsMedia.com, and you can subscribe anytime. And here's the thing. I was amazing when I said that Russell Wilson was a great bet for MVP, but I was so wrong when I said that Mike McCarthy was a good bet for Coach of the Year, because he's a good bet for worst Coach of the Year that's not named Adam Gase or somebody else who's already been fired. So there's an apology for you. Suck it.
Yeah. So,
Wow, another not genuine
finally-
apology.
Yeah, I really just don't feel it.
Zach, could you please save this, because we had to go back to the JG train for weird apologies. Can you please get us back on course?
Look, here is a sincere apology, unlike what JG has given, and not the backhanded cut down that Greenlaw has given so far. I was wrong about Kenyon Drake 2 weeks ago. We for the most part, I think some of this podcast was, but I will take the blame. I was on the anti-Drake train pretty hardcore after the first few weeks. And then I go back and look at it, and from the perspective of a standard scoring format for fantasy running back, which is a little bit harder to achieve a top, 15, top 24 scoring, he's number 13. Yes, that may not be the top 12 pick that you spend on, but if you're looking at a second-round pick, not only is he top 13 in just standard scoring, he's top 20 in PPR scoring so far. He's the 25th most consistent running back, so he's still hovering around that second-round spot. And he's not losing snap counts. Like we all assumed 2 weeks ago, okay, after Chase Edmonds went off, he'd be losing snap counts. He's not. He had one of his highest snap counts to date against the Dallas Cowboys. Sure, they were ahead, but it doesn't really seem to look at, when you look at the pattern, he's hovering around 68 to 71. That's not a big drop. Kenyon Drake, I'm sorry that I believed in you and then I dropped you, and here I am begging for forgiveness. In fact, I even said that I try to trade for you. and the owner in my league of record turned me down, and I said I would never try to trade for you again. You know what I did first thing this morning? Try trade for you. So obviously, I recognize through not only just my words, but through my actions, that I am truly sorry, and I beg for your forgiveness. And I hope you hear this at KennyDrake.com.
Did you try to trade with him using IBM Watson?
I did not, but I did try to trade Raheem Mostert and Odell Beckham for him.
So, are you apologizing to me also? Because I did say to start Kenyon Drake last week.
No, I'm.
So if you
Well,
listen to
I
the
will
show-
never apologize to you unless you actually absolutely deserve it.
I got to apologize to the people in our league for me sending those IBM Watsons. I think they're funny. I just want to see who's going to bite.
Someone will. Someone will think it's
I keep
great.
saying, they're the most ridiculous things ever. I'm like, I don't even want this trade, but I'm going to send it anyway and see if somebody's idiot.
Oh, speaking of our league, I apologize for being 6-0. I'm so sorry, you guys.
Put that up there with the JG apologies. Get that out of
No,
here.
I am truly sorry. It's not even fun to
Put
be
that above the
6-0.
JG apologies. Put that way up there.
So here's my apology, guys. And I think that I've done something terrible. And I need to take a second here.
You killed another family of raccoons?
Raccoons again.
Worse than the raccoons. This is worse than the raccoons.
Oof.
I've ended the man's season. I have to apologize to Ryan Fitzpatrick. I feel my lack of confidence in you last week to say that you were going to be a sit caused you to lose your job. I know the Miami coaches heard me. They said, well, if Ryan Watson doesn't have the confidence in Ryan Fitzmagic and he gets it right by saying to sit him, his time's over. It's 2 a time in Miami. We're going to move forward. We're done. So I have to apologize because to steal a line, I knew it was going to be coming, but to steal a line from the Matrix, not like this. He's having a good season, all jokes aside. It's a little bit surprising, so I have to apologize because I know that's what did it. It was nothing else. Nothing else I can point to other than they listened to me say to sit him, and they took it seriously.
What if Brian Flores started Ryan Fitzpatrick in fantasy and he got him so few points this week? He was like, "You're done. You are done." As my
But
starting
didn't
quarterback.
he this is what I didn't understand. Did he have like 3 passing touchdowns in like the first quarter or something? Like,
Yeah, and then he just backed off. I was really getting worried there for a second. And
how
I
are
was like,
you not top 12 after that? Like, that's
passing touchdowns.
Fantasy bros, you're on notice.
Passing touchdowns are so easy nowadays that you can have 3 of them and not be a top 12 quarterback.
yeah, clearly it happened because I swear I knew I was going to get that wrong, and apparently I did. So I was like, okay. So that's my apology to Ryan Fitzmagic. You lost your job. You had to sit there. I thought the line today was kind of horribly dark humor funny, having to sit there for 4 hours with the guy who just fired you in the same meeting room with the guy who's replacing you. It's just, that's got to be a weird feeling for him. Because I mean, he had 7 interceptions and 10 touchdowns, but he was, I think, 12th in the league in yards and 13th touchdowns respectively. So I don't think he was having a bad season. So, oh well. But moving on. So I said to sit him last week. But before we get,
I'm glad you apologized for that though, because none of our mistakes cost someone their job. I'm just gonna put that out there.
I feel absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
Besides maybe Justin's apology when we boot him off the show for his half-assed apology to us.
I'm not gonna boot him off the show. Maybe just mute his mic for a little bit.
Oh, who has control over the mutes, huh?
Yeah, he's producing the show.
Oh, you mute me, motherfucker.
Oh, okay, I fucking will. All right, I can't.
So before we get to the sit starts, the ever popular segment, I want to give a small chance here for JG to redeem himself from his apology and plug something he's been working on. Talk about it. We talked about it a little bit before the show. I know at this point in time you're looking at me kind of weird. You asked me to put a spot in here for you to plug the merch.
I did?
Yes, you did. You confused mother.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, so we are having a Broadway, our shop is going full force. BroadwaySportsMedia.com/shop or /products, depending on whatever JG decides at the last minute when he comes down from his confusion. We're going to have shirts, Tana Thrill shirts. Going to go ahead and throw it out there. They're going to be awesome. Proceeds to it go to his charity of choice, which is going to be another awesome perk. So we got the Heimerdinger, we have Tannehill's thing, charity. I mean, like, who else can we give money to? Because that's what we do at Broadway Sports. It's not about us. It's about the community. It's about the Titans community. So we have charities up the wazoo that we like to donate to. Not only that, you're going to have the better quality shirts, better quality hoodies, koozies, phone covers. You're also going to have maybe a pillow here and there. JG doesn't really want to put pillows up on the shop, but hey, maybe we'll have some body pillows at the Flex. We don't know. Either way, go to BroadwaySportsMedia.com/shop or /products in like a couple of weekdays. And maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but in a couple of days, you'll see it pop up on the website.
What does it say?
It says to plug the merch tonight.
I just did.
I know, but JG's looking at me like I'm stupid. I just wanted to prove it. I had to dig through the messages to find it.
That I said that?
Greenlaw said it, but you liked it.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I didn't say that, and I don't remember that. So I don't remember it at all because I didn't say
It's
it.
been plugged. It's been plugged.
Tonight, it's been plugged. Zach, fantastic job tonight on both of your plugs for the company and for Manscaped, man. A+. I think you're
3 sheets to the win. Let me tell you that much.
3 sheets to the wind. All right, since you're feeling pretty good, let's get on over to the sits starts for this week. The best segment in fantasy football going in the nation, where we give you our picks, our explanations, going through that. Justin, we picked on you a little bit tonight, but why don't you start us off with a quarterback to start this week?
Well, this was part of my apology tour earlier in the show, but the quarterback that I'm starting tonight is, of course, Matthew Stafford, because this is just what you do. You play the quarterback who's playing the Falcons. It's a weekly tradition at this point, and this week, that's who Matthew Stafford's playing. So I know their defense looked better with Raheem Morris as the head coach, but that was kind of that like 1 week surge that you see often happen when a team fires their head coach. And Kirk Cousins still had a pretty good game. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen each got in the end zone. So I'm saying roll with the Lions quarterback, Matthew Stafford. They're going to throw the ball because that's what they do. Go get him, baby.
Any rebuttal? I like it. He's back on board.
I mean, we'll see. I like the Detroit Lions offense, but I think it's going to be a DeAndre Swift game again. I just feel it. DeAndre Swift is coming to his own. He's the running back that everybody thought he was going to be. I was right, and Greenlaw was right last week when we said that this would be a DeAndre Swift game. And sure, is a little shaky at the beginning when Adrian Peterson bumped in that touchdown, at the very beginning. But then DeAndre Swift went off. And I think he's going to continue to go off. You can basically old yeller Adrian Peterson out behind the farm.
Yeah, I agree, but I think that the Jacksonville offense struggled to put up any points in response to what Detroit was doing, but the Falcons offense is going to be a lot better than that. So I think that even if DeAndre Swift has a good game, I think it's going to help Stafford in the sense that he'll be catching little dump-offs out of the backfield and breaking tackles, making people miss. So I think Stafford's an easy play for top 12 QB.
I'm going to say this. I'm kind of feeling this Raheem Morris team, and I think that I think you're going to be wrong on this one. I'm going to put it in the bricks behind
Let's make a bet,
Ryan.
baby. We haven't made a bet in weeks.
I think it will be quarterback. He'll be outside the top 12, Matt Stafford.
Oh, bold. He's currently outside the top 12. I mean, that's like really bold right there. The whole
He's talking
point
about
of the starts is that you have to choose someone who's outside the
Oh,
top
well, let
It's
me
bold
apologize
considering
for
he's
your
playing the
misconception.
Falcons.
Yeah, let me apologize for your misconception of how a bet works. But I focus on the now. And so I'd like to apologize that you didn't realize that. And so I am going with Matt Stafford outside of the top 15.
There we
I'll
go.
even
That's
give
a
you 3
fair
other
bet.
spots.
That's
Oh.
a fair bet. That's a fair
We're
bet.
locking it in?
We're locking
That's
it in.
more.
Green
That's
Stone.
more of like placating a millennial. It's just like just
You're
put the
a
pacifier in
millennial.
your mouth.
Cheers.
Speaking of apologies, I think that someone on the show probably should have apologized to Swift for how how rough we are with him and saying things like we don't want any part of the Detroit backfield and any of that. So, but that's neither here
No,
nor
I think we were still right on that because we're in week 7 or week 6, and you're just now seeing him emerge after a bye week. So I think we are still right.
against the worst defense in one of the worst defenses in the NFL.
Yeah. If anything, you should apologize for trying to force that apology.
Well, I was trying to transition to Greenlaw because he was the one who actually said that he didn't trust the running backs and didn't want any part of it. So, Greenlaw, give us a sit at quarterback.
Yeah, so I'll go back to week 1. I said sit him then. I'm going to say sit him now. Tom Brady against the Raiders. Vegas, this is a little bit of an onion hanger here, but I didn't like my options out of the top 12 quarterbacks. But Vegas is the 11th worst against quarterbacks in fantasy. But I think this is a game where they can lean on Ronald Jones a little bit. Vegas has the second worst run defense in the NFL. So they lean on Ronald Jones. And then the Raiders offense is 6th in time of possession. They love these long drives. They're going to hold on to the ball quite a bit. So I can see where it's not just Brady doesn't have the passing attempts, but he's just not going to have the ball as much as he would in another game.
All right.
I love it. I like the time of possession stat. I'm going to steal that for future references. I like
Thank
it.
you.
I
What
think
did you write that down on, Zach, by the way?
Oh, this handy dandy notebook that you can actually see this time that I show it. In fact,
It's real.
this is a whole stat notebook. One subject, football. That's the one subject.
Nice.
Perfect football notebook. Hey, and by the way, if this title of this episode is not apologies for the apologies, I'm gonna come brain on you.
D-U-N-N.
Well, let me go ahead and apologize for it not being that title.
No, yeah. That title is done like Warwick.
So moving on to my starting quarterback, I'm starting Matt Ryan this week, and he's just outside the top 12 of quarterbacks. I got to stop doubting him when he has his healthy amount of receivers back. Julio Jones is back looking good. We already know about Calvin Ridley, Hayden Hurst. It's just a complement of weapons he has down there, and they seem to be rolling, coming off a really good game. Coming into a matchup that originally I looked at, I didn't think it was just, one of those outstanding matchups versus Detroit. But then when you look a little deeper at how many injuries Detroit's dealing with in the backfield, and they're not getting after the QB a ton. I think that's the important part to think about with Matt Ryan. When he is comfortable in the pocket and able to go through his reads, he's a pretty good quarterback. You put any pressure on him whatsoever, it's when it starts to fall apart for him. And so you combine that with the injuries in the secondary and having to roll some backups in there, and the Detroit just doesn't get after the quarterback as much as some other teams do. I think this sets up for a really, really good day for Matt Ryan and what possibly could be a shootout game if Detroit's going to be throwing it as well. This could end up being, I got to say, with the two starts, you could be looking at Stafford and Ryan looking like in the top 5 quarterbacks. And I'll say this, I think Matt Ryan's going to be a top 3 quarterback this week in fantasy football.
Boom, baby.
Wow, are you going to put that in a brick?
Oh, I just put it in the paper.
It's in the brick
in the
against who's taking it? Who wants it? Who wants
I mean,
to
I'll
say
take
it?
it. That's a
I
easy
just
bet.
want to rub his face in it if he gets it wrong. But I really don't want to.
Someone has to take the opposite of this, though. That doesn't count.
Greenlaw's
Yeah,
got it.
I'm taking it.
Okay.
He won't be a top 3 quarterback.
Okay, so he'll be a top 4 for you then.
Yeah.
Sure. This is
I'm confident and I like the pick.
This is a great DFS
I like
game.
it. I hope you win it. I agree. This is a game where you should be stacking people.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. But Zach, since you've written that in the notebook, while you're in that notebook, go ahead and give us a sit at quarterback.
I'm going to disagree. That's a good stack because everybody's going to be stacking this game. So do not stack this game.
Well, you
All
could be
right.
tied for first.
I'd like to apologize for your guys' bad DFS advice. So I am going to go with Cam Newton as a sit versus the San Francisco 49ers. Let me tell you something about these San Francisco 49ers. They have the 11th best DVOA overall, the 7th best against the rush. And you may think, well, what does the rush have to do with Cam Newton? Listen,
Everything.
they are everything because they're the 27th best, 27th. Wait a minute. They are the 4th worst rush fourth worst pass offense. I got there.
32,
4th
31,
worst.
30, 29,
They're-
28, 27.
They're 27th. Is that 4th or
worst.
5th?
Sixth.
6th. They're the 6th worst pass offense in DVOA. They're awful. This is an awful team. N'Keal Harry sucks. Julian Edelman sucks. Cam Newton sucks. So that is why it's important that this is the 7th best defense against the rush in DVOA. because they're going to be able to stop Cam Newton from doing what he does best, which is getting rushing touchdowns. And that's the only reason he has any kind of fantasy points, and the only reason that he is in the top 12 of quarterbacks in points per game. Cam Newton is not having a good year. I don't care what anybody says. I have been out on Cam Newton before the season started, and this offense is putrid. Putrid. I apologize. To your eyeballs for having to watch Cam Newton play quarterback because he's not good.
You're gonna have to apologize to him after this show. Jesus.
Listen, he's gonna have to apologize to me for
Eviscerated
wearing whatever ridiculous outfit he's gonna wear. And if I have to listen to Trajan Watkins on at whatever his Twitter name is,
at
over at
Trajan
Titans Brawl.
Watkins 011.
Yeah, something like that. He writes for Titans Brawl, and I'm going to see him on his podcast on Friday. If I have to hear one more time about how he wishes he has Cam Newton's wardrobe, I'm going to fucking vomit. Because Cam Newton is the worst fucking dresser I've ever fucking seen in my life. And he looks utterly ridiculous. He looks like Aunt Jemima. And
You're a hater. You're just a hater.
I'm not a hater. It's just not fashion.
It's called expressing yourself with personal style.
Look,
okay?
I can go over here, put Huxley on my fucking head, and wrap his dog bed around my shoulders. Is that fashion? No.
It's not
Is it
fashion.
expressing
It's
myself?
expressing yourself.
Doesn't mean it looks good. I don't care if you express yourself.
I don't think he cares about looking good. I think he cares about feeling good.
But that's not fashion. Fashion is not about looking good or feeling good. It's about looking good. It's two totally different things.
Who are you to judge? Who are you to judge?
I am the person to judge.
Fantastic. You may think
I would like to
judge.
apologize for this fashion conversation and also that we can't get rankings right 7 weeks into the season.
I would like to apologize. I would like to apologize that people think that feelings matter.
Typical millennial thing, Zach.
Yeah.
Just, disgusting.
All right.
Zach, stay with you. Give us a start at running back.
It's David Johnson versus the Green Bay Packers all day long. I mean, it's easy. Let me tell you why. Because I'll always tell you why, and you should always listen why. Yeah, I can do it quickly. I mean, like, shut up. Y'all played me off last week, so I'm going to take my time, and I'm just going to go off on a tangent. So here we go. Romeo Crennel is a defensive head coach, and a defensive head coach likes to do what? They like to run the ball because they're idiots, for the most part, not Mike Vrabel. And he had his most carries of the season
likes to run
last
the ball.
week. Yeah, shut up. Had his most carries of the season with 19. He had the second highest snap percentage with 55. Green Bay is the fifth most consistent team giving up the most points to running backs. They're allowing the second most points to running backs at 28 points per game. It's easy. Done. Boom. Start David Johnson.
Done. That was quick.
I like it. It was not, for your terms, that was pretty good. For my sit at running back, I'm not feeling comfortable about it because, well, he's on almost every one of my teams in fantasy, and I don't know if I'm going to listen to myself this week in sitting because you've got a situation with Clyde Edwards-Helaire that he has Le'Veon Bell coming in. Now, I don't know what the play percentage is going to be for Le'Veon Bell, but he's going to take some touches away. You never know what he's going to go, if he's going to get 5 carries, if he's going to get 10, if he's going to even be in the game. It sounds like he is right now from all the reports that I'm able to read at this point in time in the week. And on top of that, it's a matchup versus the Denver Broncos, who are a pretty good run defense. I just don't like the combination of things. And coming off, he had a few bad games in a row, had a really good game last week, and it's still up and down season for the rookie. I was looking, maybe should I trade him? Should I do what? It's just a whole lot of uncertainty. And because there's uncertainty, I'm sitting him this week. Maybe.
Would you like to trade him still? Because maybe you can send me a little IBM Watson trade after this.
He's literally in the IBM Watsons I saw today. He was a part of every single trade to get rid of. And I was like, well, maybe I should listen to IBM Watson here.
I'll trade you Ronald Johnson for Clyde Edwards-Helaire straight up.
What about Ronald Jones?
I'll trade you him too.
That was actually one of the IBM Watson trades. It was straight up Jones for Allaire. I was like,
No.
If
okay.
that's the trade, you should say no. If they suggest something, you should
Jim
just
Greenlaw,
nix it.
shut that mouth. I'd like to apologize, Ryan, to you for Greenlaw's statement just now. You
That's
should
all right.
definitely trade me Clyde Edwards-Helaire for Tyler Johnson.
I'll think about it. I'll also think about whether I'm gonna start him or not this week. But that's my sit for this week. Greenlaw, you have your chance to redeem yourself here in Zach's eyes and give us a start at running back.
Thanks. I'm going to go with Darrell Henderson. The Bears give up about middle of the pack rushing yards in the NFL to running backs, but Henderson's opportunities have gone up every single week. He's gotten more snaps every single week from week one. He was up to 53% of the snaps on Sunday. So I think if you're going to have a running back in the Rams backfield, it should be Henderson. I think this is a decent opportunity for him. Plus, he's alternated weeks between having great weeks and mediocre weeks. And guess what? Last week he had a mediocre week. So this week it's time for the great one.
He's like the Ryan Fitzpatrick of running backs, except for he's not out of a job.
That's true. And I'm telling you to start him. So I have full faith in him. If he loses his job, it will not be my fault.
Yeah, always my fault. It's always my fault. But you know what? I take blame for it. I'm sorry, Mr. Fitzpatrick. I'm very sorry. You might get some booze for this one based on how the show has gone and how recent turn have gone. But JG, give us a sit at running back.
Well, in lieu of Zach's apology, I've decided to sit Kenyon Drake this week, 1 week after I was correct to start him last week. He vaulted himself right up to the borderline of being eligible for me to start him at running back this week. But he's playing against the Seahawks. Against the Jets 2 weeks ago, we saw him get the majority of the snaps in the rushing carries because the Cardinals were winning by a lot for most of the game. Last week against Dallas, same thing. But this week, I don't see the Cardinals winning for the majority of the game. If anything, I see the Seahawks potentially leading for the majority of the game, or it being a close battle that goes back and forth. Lots of Chase Edmonds on the field, lots of little dump-offs and getting Chase Edmonds involved to help keep the offense going. Not as much icing the clock. Definitely don't expect a 60-yard touchdown run in the final minutes this week. So for that reason, I don't think against this particular matchup, Seattle 9th overall in run defense DVOA, don't really see Kenyon Drake being a top 24 running back this week, so I'm going to bench him.
I don't hate it.
I think no disagreements. I thought maybe Zach would chime in with something, but I was wrong, so I apologize.
No, I've already apologized for Kenyon Drake, so let me apologize for not apologizing. A second apology for Kenyon Drake.
I accept your apology. JG, start our receivers off with the start.
I'm going to start Mike Evans at receiver this week, and the main reason is because he's just outside he's eligible but barely, because he's been pretty good, but he hasn't been excellent this year. He's been amazing in the red zone, and I expect that to just continue this week. Going up against the Raiders, I know Greenlaw is benching Tom Brady as quarterback, but I know Mike Evans is questionable heading into this game as well, but he only had 1 catch for 10 yards last week, only 2 targets. Las Vegas is giving up 22nd most, that's 11th worst points to wide receivers. Mike Evans' red zone proficiency just makes him a good bet to score a touchdown any given week, so I'm kind of banking on that upside by selecting him as my wide receiver start this week.
We talked about it earlier. You can throw 3 touchdowns and still not be a QB1. So, yeah. Both things can happen.
Good. Yeah. We'll see. All right, Greenlaw, give us a sit at receiver.
So my sit this week is going to be Amari Cooper against the Washington football team. I was very surprised to see that the Washington football team is the best defense in the NFL against wide receivers in terms of fantasy points per game. He's had 9 targets total the last 2 weeks with Andy Dalton at quarterback, and almost all of his targets this past week were in garbage time. So this is not someone I'm just sitting out this week. He's someone I'm looking to ship out in a trade because his value is inflated right now. His numbers look great on a per week basis, but I'm not buying into Amari Cooper going forward.
Here's the thing. I think you're right in shipping out Amari Cooper, but I think you ship him out after this week because this week he actually is going to go off because we saw that Andy Dalton in crunch time was looking for him, and I think it's actually going to be a lot more of a closer game than what you think it's going to be.
I do think it'll be a close game, and that's part of
Yeah.
why I want to bench him, because I think they're going to lean on Zeke and the running game. That's what they wanted to do early on Monday, was lean on the run game, and then Zeke fumbled the ball twice. So maybe they lean on Pollard and Zeke again because they don't trust Andy to make good decisions, which, I mean, he clearly can't make after the Monday Night Football game.
That
I
is true
think-
because this is a bit better defensive line or defensive front seven than what they saw last week.
Yeah, I think Andy Dalton could be on his back a lot this game, and for that reason, I agree. I'm kind of out on the Cowboys offense. This could easily be like a 17, 15, 14 kind of game that's like ugly and low scoring. But I also, because like even though Dallas' defense is bad, Washington's offense is putrid. So the only thing is, I feel like Amari Cooper is the guy that's going to be like getting designed little like screens, or if
He-
it's like
he was getting
the first
those.
read. Yeah, exactly, because they're running the backup quarterback out there. So like when they're like looking for those easy access types of plays to help that quarterback get going, those are usually going to be designed for your X receiver or your wide receiver one, not for your rookie slot receiver, and not even for Gallup. And I know he was looking at Gallup a lot in that Giants game, but they were trying to push the ball down the field and get scores because they were still losing even when Dalton came in. So they had to go down the field and score points. But if they're not in that situation, like I don't really see. I don't know. I feel
Would
like
you
people
rather-
overreacted to Michael
Yeah.
Gallup. Sorry, overreacted to Michael Gallup's usage a week ago, and like we kind of saw that. I mean, he did drop a touchdown, but he didn't really have a
Improv
good
two,
game.
either or. Would you rather have Amari Cooper or Odell Beckham the rest of the way?
Odell,
I'd rather
I
have
think the targets are better.
Cooper.
What about you, Ryan?
I got to agree with the whole Cooper and the Dalton thing. Everything was said there. And I'm actually going to point back to this conversation when we get to my flex pick.
Oh, interesting. Just very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Which would you
notes.
rather have, Zach?
I don't know. I'm thinking about trading one of them, so I'm just was getting your all's advice on the air.
Spoiler alert.
I think the Cowboys are still going to throw the ball more each week than the Browns will, who just
I
want to
think
rely on the run.
well, I don't think I know the Browns have the better offensive line and the better defense, so that makes me. That goes both ways, right? I mean,
goes
the better
into running,
defense
yeah.
means that Kareem Hunt should probably and Nick Chubb should get it, but again, they have the better offense, so more time for Baker to either throw or throw up on himself. So
But
And the
Baker's gotta
Cowboys
get
just
healthy.
don't have enough. Well, he does, but the Cowboys have too many mouths to feed with Andy Dalton. It was a sustainable offense with Dak, but with Andy, it's not. I don't think there's enough targets to go around.
good point.
Great points. We're going to move the show along though, because we'll be talking about the Cowboys here later on as well. But my start for receiver is Keelan Cole Jr. He is minimum of 5 catches per game this entire season. Every single game. He's a model of consistency. He's also coming up into a matchup here. Which could end up being a shootout. I think he has a decent matchup, and he has Chenault will have some attention and look for Cole to out target the rookie again this week to put up. He's coming off a big week, so I'm not saying it's going to be as big a week as he had last week, but he's just going to get up into that top 24 range and have a decent week this week based on the matchup and based on the attention Chenault's going to get.
Is he really a junior?
That's
Yeah,
actually the first
that's-
thought that went through my head.
That's something I learned this week. I'm going to change my
Yeah.
something I learned this week to that Keelan Cole is a junior.
Well,
I'd like to apologize to Keelan Cole Sr. for not knowing that he existed.
I would as well. Put that in stone. We'd like to apologize to him.
I'm not looking it up. I'm just going to assume I'm right and move on. Please put the correction there if it's not. But Keelan Cole Jr., the one that actually plays for the Jaguar.
I did try to pick up Keelan Cole
wait.
in a lot of weeks. What? Oh.
Starting Keelan Cole Jr. is extremely bold. I believe Keelan Cole Jr. is an infant. The
Oh,
infant
so
son.
Keelan Cole Jr. is Keelan Cole Sr., who is actually just Keelan Cole.
So
Right.
we need to apologize to Keelan Cole Jr. because we didn't know who he was. We knew who Senior was.
Correct.
Yeah, and we also
Senior.
need to apologize to Keelan Cole's Jr.'s mother, who is actually Keelan Cole Sr.'s wife. So we need to.
Well, I don't know where I got
as
the
well.
junior from. I must have been high or confused. I was at my daughter's soccer practice, so
You
know
were
who.
high at
Lots
your
of grass
daughter's
around
soccer.
there.
We also need to
Well,
apologize to Ryan's daughter for him not paying attention during his soccer game.
And for him going to practice high, that's not very responsible,
That's
Ryan.
not very
No.
responsible.
Did you drive? How dare you?
We flew. Is that better? Magic carpet.
No.
You soared. You were so high.
So I apologize for calling him junior. I don't know where I got that from. So whatever. This is just the apology podcast. Well, what can I say?
didn't know he was a senior either, so I did learn
Yeah.
something in a roundabout way.
Yeah. Hey, there we go. That's what I'm here for, to learn. So Zach, learn us some more stuff and give us your sit at receiver.
I would like to apologize to you, Allen Robinson owners, because this is going to be a bad week to start him. And let me tell you why. It's going to be Jalen Ramsey all up on his butt all game long. And it's not going to matter who is throwing him the ball. It could be Mitch Trubisky. It could be Nick Foles. It could be Jeff McMahon. It could be Smoking Jay Cutler. It's not going to matter. Because
None of those
basically-
quarterbacks are good, though.
Can I ask you a question?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Which player in the NFL has the most targets of any player?
Actually, Allen Robinson.
Yep. This is an onion hanger, bro.
No, it's not really an onion hanger because I'm about to tell you why. Because the LA Rams are giving up the least amount of points to fantasy wide receivers. Jalen Ramsey is tied for 9th best among cornerbacks, only giving up 0.16 fantasy points per route ran. The Rams are 11th in defensive pass DVOA, and the Bears are ranked 24th in offensive DVOA in pass in the offense. And they suck. It's Nick Foles. They suck. If the Bears win this game, it's only going to be because their defense is like they've won every other fucking game this year. It's not going to be because of Allen Robinson. And let me tell you this, if you start Allen Robinson, you're in for a world of hurts. Thank you.
I figured out what I did, guys. It's Chenault is a junior. And so when I was comparing my notes, I must have bled that over. So that's on me. That's what I get.
Well, thank you for completely overshadowing everything I just said.
Yeah.
Good job, Zach. I agree with you.
I figured it out. But Zach, go ahead and give us your tight end you're starting this week.
It's Evan Ingram versus Philadelphia. I'm looking at it, and Evan Ingram is currently points per game number 27 of all the tight ends. That's ridiculous. How crazy is that right now, first off? But Philadelphia's giving up the 4th most points to fantasy tight ends. Who else does New York Giants have to throw it to? And you know they're going to have to throw it to somebody.
Too, isn't he?
And let me say this, 2 games versus the Eagles so far in his career, he averages 6.5 receptions on 10 targets and 66 yards. Boom.
Wow. Oh, there it goes.
Boom. Dropped it on us. So I'll go ahead and pick up the mantle here and give you my sit at tight end. I'm going with Noah Fant this week. He's coming off an injury. All signs are pointing he's actually going to play this week. He was 50-50 last week. They're already having some positive movement for him to play this week. So it's for me, it's coming off the injury. Plus it's not a great matchup versus the Kansas City Chiefs, who are only allowing 10.5 fantasy points to tight ends a game. So I don't like the matchup. It's what the thing said. Okay.
10 is a lot.
I know. Well, I thought maybe in my head they're including 2 tight ends, so they're splitting. So it's really 5 points. Plus, after last week, would you start the show off by saying the tight end got you 13 points, and clearly that wasn't good enough?
He only got 9 in PPR because he only had 2 catches, but I was just shocked that he scored a touchdown. I was like, when I was watching the red zone or whatever, and TJ scored a touchdown, I was like, yes, there's my tight end start. But look at him not.
10 points against his 11th best in the league.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
No, it's borderline. So I'm just saying it's an injury combined with a lot of things going on there. Plus, it looks like the Denver Broncos here recently, and maybe this is with Fant being out there, pushing it down the field a little bit to Patrick. You've got Judy on the outside. It's just something, the feeling that I had to go with of that top 12 points per game tight ends that I had to pick here. So that's my sit at tight end this week is Noah Fant.
I'd like to apologize to the fantasy rankings list for the disrespect that some of the people on this thing have shown it. It's a proven fact. Guys, you just have to deal with it. And you guys need to look in the mirror and just decide, are y'all going to roll with the list or complain about the list?
No, I'm not complaining. I'm sorry. If that came off as complaining, I apologize to you, sir.
Apologize. I expect an apology from Justin, but, that won't happen either because he complained
what?
about the quarterback one as well. Look, look, it's what you
I
wanted.
don't
Just
complain
list
about
what
the
you wanted.
quarterback list.
Parameters,
Hey,
that's-
Greenlaw's the one who asked if we were removing Dak and Fitzpatrick, not me.
All right, moving on. There's too much side show crap going on with everything. Greenlaw, give us a start at tight end.
Look at how smug JG looks right now.
I'm the smuggest motherfucker on this show.
I think it's the bridge.
Confused.
The bridge probably is. So my start at tight end is Eric Ebron. Can you say birthday party revenge game? I mean, it's laid out for us right here. He's so pissed about his child's birthday party being rescheduled. He's going to have the game of his life against the Titans. Titans are the 7th worst team in the NFL against tight ends in points per game. And I'd imagine there's a lot of points scored in this game in general. So Eric Ebron, start him. And definitely, I know he's not a part of this segment, but if you have Chase Claypool, start him.
I almost wanted to put Ebron as my sit just so I could say fuck him for being pissed about the birthday stuff, but cooler heads prevailed, and I went with Noah Fant, so here we are.
Also, he's outside the top 12, so.
Yeah, well, whatever. I just want to make a joke. Jeez, getting all over it there, JG. Fine, you take the ball. Who's your sit at tight end?
My sit at tight end this week is none other than the current tight end 3, Darren Waller. Now, Zach has sat Darren Waller earlier this season, I mean, successfully. So good job on that one. And I'm sitting him this week because he's up against the Buccaneers, who we just saw the Buccaneers decimate the Packers. Now, I don't expect them to destroy. That's like a once-in-a-season type of destruction type of game there. But the Raiders, coming off a bye week, Darren Waller has been pretty much their entire passing offense outside of a few deep shots a game to Henry Ruggs when he's healthy. I just feel like coming off the bye week here, they're going to look at their offense, look at all their pieces, get some guys healthier, and realize that they can't be successful just funneling everything through one player. So I feel like you might see the usage decrease this week. Buccaneers are 13th against tight end in points allowed. Robert Tonyan, who was having a great past few weeks, came up way short last week against this team. I just think that it's one of those weeks where Darren Waller is not going to be used as much because they're going to be trying to spread the ball around to like ignite the offense coming out of the bye. It's just like, it's not really analytical based, more of a gut feeling, but you know, I just think looking at the list of top 12 tight ends here, trying to pick one to sit is really, really, really hard. And Darren Waller is the guy that my gut is calling out to sit.
Did he get a weird haircut too?
He did. That was Are you talking about Mariota right now? How about what are they called? Box braid? Am I saying it right?
Interesting
He
look.
looks like a rejected member of Criss Cross.
A few things, then. Go ahead and give us a defense you're starting this week, JG.
All right. Well, Thursday Night Football has proven to be some low-scoring games. Last week, Bears-Bucks, I was confident, or 2 weeks ago, I mean, Bears-Bucks, I was confident in when I was sat the Bears defense, or when I started the Bears. I don't remember what I did. I was down on Thursday Night Football scoring a couple weeks ago, and I'm back in that realm again this week. Eagles are going up against the Giants. The Eagles' defensive line is pretty dang good. Their offense is banged up, missing Zach Ertz and Miles Sanders this week, but their defense should be able to put pressure on Daniel Jones, who is terrible. He fumbles all the time. I bet Philadelphia recovers a strip sack for like a touchdown this week just with their defensive line. That's my bold prediction of the week. Write it down, baby. Write it down because it's going to happen. Thursday Night Football is ugly and terrible. I'm going with the Eagles defense to slow down the Giants' putrid, disgusting offense.
Wow, very bold.
Fumble all the time. I don't know why that song got stuck in my head when he fumbles all the time. Greenlaw, give us a sit at defense.
So my sit this week is the Arizona Cardinals defense. They had a big week against Andy Dalton because Andy Dalton is colorblind and he doesn't know which team he's throwing to. And Zeke ate too much popcorn before the game and he started fumbling the ball all over the place. Not so lucky for them. Russell Wilson, not any sort of blind. He's not colorblind. He's not regular blind, not blind at all. And he's going to shred him on Sunday. So sit him.
Boom.
Like it. My start's pretty simple as well. Start the Buffalo Bills. They're playing the New York Jets.
Wow.
It's always a good one. It's an oldie but goodie.
It feels cheap at this point, but you know what? It fits within the rules, so I'm going to roll with it.
Are you worried about what happened in week, was it 1 or 2? 1, I think.
No,
not at all.
no, that team, no, not worried at all.
All right.
No, Jets are terrible.
That's true. In week 1, the Bills defense scored 11 points, so that's pretty good. It's their best week of the year.
So are you worried about that, Ryan?
Yeah,
are you worried about the
them-
success?
Yeah.
Are you worried about the ability to duplicate such a great week?
Yeah. I'm not worried
You
at all.
don't-
The Jets surprisingly have gotten worse since then.
I know we don't have the same worldview as JG, who's up on his high bridge right now and so much better than everybody else. His pompous bridge.
Zach, give us a sit on defense. Jesus, Pete.
I'd like to apologize to you Seattle Seahawks defensive owners who think that, I'm going to play the Seattle Seahawks against the Arizona Cardinals, because somehow the Seattle Seahawks are actually a somewhat good fantasy defense, even though their on-field performance does not correlate. Spoiler alert, almost all defenses suck and no defenses matter, and you should excommunicate defenses from your fantasy lineup for future league reference.
Emotion I can get behind.
However, the Arizona Cardinals are leaving fantasy defenses on the field with an average of 2.8 points per game. Dallas was the 28th ranked defense. Jets were the 22nd. Carolina was the 21st. Washington was the 15th, and San Francisco was 13th. And we just saw them, go through all of this, and they've only had one defense they played against, the Arizona offense, that has scored in the top 12, and that was Detroit, of all fucking defenses, scored number 10 the week they played. The Seahawks and the Arizona, Buda Baker is playing out of his mind.
Yeah, he is.
Let me say this. Seahawks defense, you trash. Not going to work.
How many points to give up? Because I'd said the same thing last week about Green Bay putting teams in the negative, and look what that got me. Oh, I apologize for that. Tampa Bay was the highest scoring defense in all fantasy after my.
Well, I apologize. I'm going to have to overshadow you. But as far as defenses go, I'm pretty sure I have a flawless record in sit-start defenses. Just saying.
All right. I'm not going to even bet you because I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right this week too, but just making careful. So let's get into our favorite position of this show. I haven't got to play that sound effect at all tonight, hardly. So let's go ahead and play it there. Zach, give us your start in the flex.
The flex is not the same as a sleeper. So I'm going to give you someone that you probably have on your roster and you probably either want or know to start anyway. But it's going to be T. Higgins. And T. Higgins versus the Browns. The Browns give up the 4th most fantasy points to wide receivers, and they consistently give up those fantasy points at a top 6 rate. They're always throwing. Mixon is looking a little iffy this week, so keep an eye on that. As a side note, and just the sheer volume, but also the emotional connection that Burrow and T. Higgins have. They have a connection. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but T. Higgins and Joe Burrow spent the summer up in a cabin in Michigan, up on Lake Panawana. And let me say this. They spent the week throwing together, fishing together, boating together. Beautiful stuff. If you haven't read the story, you need to go find this story that I just made up.
I was going to say, I have no idea if that's really true or not, but I do know that both Joe and T have 3 letters in their first name, and that makes a connection, bigger than any trip to Lake Panawanka or whatever you said.
Panawana.
Yeah,
And
that's more special than that.
Didn't they form that connection in the national championship game?
They did.
They did.
T saw
They
Joe
immediately
throwing the
left
ball all
that
over
game.
him. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And went to have their lake retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's working out. That's a pretty good matchup so far. My sit in the flex this week, and just let's rewind a little bit back into the show. And I don't want to go over all the points again to fill up a lot of time here because I agree with everything I said. But just remember back with JG, the points he was making about.
You agreed with everything you said. That's good. I'm glad.
I apologize. Anyway, I agree with everything that JG said. I'm agreeing with what I'm saying now that agrees with everything that JG said about the Cowboys and the matchup that Andy Dalton is going to start pressing and looking for his stud receiver in Amari Cooper. And what that means is that your next 2 receivers this week are going to have to find and share those targets between Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. So I am sitting CeeDee Lamb this week. With a receiver group with Dak Prescott, I'm like, start them all. They're bound to pop. It's great. But with Andy Dalton, he doesn't have the same talent, and he doesn't know where to throw it. He's off target, and he's going to look to start pressing, relying on the veteran as opposed to the rookie. So I'm thinking the rookie is taking the back seat. Plus, this matchup, again, as Greenlaw stated, and I agree with him, versus Washington, who's surprisingly the best defense in the league versus receivers. So it's just a combination. It's a calamity of errors. It's a lot of things here. So I'm sitting, even in my flex, a guy who I have been putting consistently on my rosters in the receiver slots. I'm sitting him in the flex this week, which is even a lower bar than just the receiver. Done.
I like it. I like it.
Do you guys think that if Hugh Jackson was coordinating for Andy Dalton, he'd actually be good? Hugh Jackson was Cincinnati's offensive coordinator the year that Andy Dalton was getting MVP buzz when he had A.J. Green and Tyler Eifert and Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill and a pretty good cast of guys around him. But isn't that a crazy, bizarro thing to like think about now, what we know and think of Hugh Jackson?
I'm going to say no just because Andy Dalton was throwing to people on the wrong team that were not close to anybody else. So because of that, that's not a coaching thing. That's just I'm a terrible quarterback thing.
What if now in his career thing?
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. All fair. Just crazy.
No, that's a great point. It's such a great point. Why don't you go ahead and give us your start and flex?
So my start in the flex this week is Timothy Jimothy Patrick. This one's a little bit of a risk because the Kansas City Chiefs are the 5th best defense against wide receivers, but they've also had the 8th least targets against them, so there hasn't been a whole lot of opportunity. Patrick seems to be emerging as a little bit of a favorite for both Broncos QBs, both Ripien and Drew Lock. Brett, obviously the better quarterback than Drew, but he's getting targets from both of them. He got at least 7 in each of the last 2 games. So I think this is a guy who is taking on more volume in this passing offense and can be a flexer for you. And this is a week after I told you don't take anybody in the Broncos offense.
Wow.
Interesting. I got to say, looking at this list here, I'm shocked at this next one, but maybe this is one of his valleys opposed to his peaks that you were talking about there, JJ. Who is your sit in the flex?
The number 9 wide receiver through 6 weeks is none other than my boy, Will Fuller, who you are undoubtedly thankful to have drafted if you listened to me and reached a round or so for him because he's been great. He's scored a touchdown in 4 games straight. And like I said, number 9 receiver overall, dominated against the Titans with his 50-yard touchdown against Malcolm Butler. But here's the thing. He's not going up against Malcolm Butler this week. He's going up against Jair Alexander, the Green Bay Packers. This is the kind of week where Jair Alexander is currently Pro Football Focus's number 2 rated cornerback, whatever you think of PFF grades. It's just not the week for Will Fuller. It's the week to bench Will Fuller. Those weeks come up every once in a while. That's the beauty of Will Fuller, though, is you can kind of look at the matchups and try to predict when those weeks will come. This is one of those weeks. Will Fuller is a sit in the flex. He's in for one of those 4 or 5 point weeks. I wanted to say Brandon Cooks is my sleeper, but he's just outside the top. He's just inside the top 75 right now, so he's not available. But I think this is a big Brandon Cooks week, as Jair Alexander is just a great cornerback who's going to shut down Fuller and make Watson look elsewhere. Sorry, guys.
I mean, what a great advice to draft someone that you're going to have to bench all these weeks or who's just going to be terrible all these weeks. I'm glad people reached for this guy who sucks.
Yeah, who's been like a solid. Look, we have been over this many times. I said you start him when he's a great start, which has been 4 out of 6 weeks this year. So he's been great for you 4 out of 6 weeks. And the other 2 weeks were clear weeks to not play him. So if you listen to me, you were doing pretty dang good with Will Fuller so far.
Full transparency, when you said to reach a round for him, I swore I heard you say reach around on him.
Well, that too. You owe it to him. The last 4 weeks have been great for your fantasy team.
He's cost you more than just the bad draft position for him. He was always a bad pick. Yes.
Give us your sleeper while we're at it, JG.
All right, so in lieu of Brandon Cooks being unavailable to be my sleeper instead will be a tight end. I know, crazy. And a tight end on Thursday Night Football, what I just talked about being terrible for scoring. I know, super crazy. But my sleeper of the week is Dallas Goedert. And it's mostly based on the fact that Zach Ertz is out and Dallas Goedert is not out. Also, Miles Sanders is out. The Giants defense is not very good. with these players, I mean, those are like the two biggest weapons for the Philadelphia offense. Deshaun Jackson is coming back this week, so what?
Have
Zach
you
Ertz-
heard of Travis Fulgham?
Okay, I've heard of a rookie Travis.
Have
Fulgham.
you heard of him?
A few
Yeah.
amazing. I'd heard
Greg
of him.
Ward.
Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
You're
Look, the
really
point is Dallas Goddard
underselling
is
these guys.
the most
I don't have-
talented.
You know what? I'll let you keep it. Why do I have the Dallas Goddard's on IR?
Is he?
No, just leave it. This is the second guy he's tried to start that's injured.
This is his guy. This is his guy.
He also wanted to start Cortland Sutton, who's
Why the
got
hell is Dallas
ruptured
Goddard on IR?
Achilles.
Doug Peterson said Wednesday that Goddard is progressing well in his recovery from dislocated left ankle.
What
Yes.
the hell?
He's on
Cleared
IR.
to resume practicing.
All right,
That's going to be a recovery of the century. Comeback player of the week if this dude plays on Sunday.
All right, you know what? I'm taking Trey Burton instead. Screw you guys.
Well, he's on bye.
And I'm pretty sure he's in the top 75.
No,
so.
he's 84. He's 84.
Okay, so we
You know
got
what?
you down for
I'm
Dallas
taking
Goddard.
Marquise Brown. The end. Everyone's on by this.
Dallas Goddard. Got it.
I should have let it go.
He can have any
All
three
right.
of those
In
guys.
the
None
nose.
of them are playing.
We're taking Russell Gage this week against the Lions. Bank it. Take it to the bank, baby.
I apologize if he edits all this out and all you heard was Russell Gage because it was magic before now.
No editing. I ain't got time for that shit. I got to work on the store some more.
All right, fine. So Greenlaw, give us your sleeper.
My sleeper this week is a show favorite, Antonio Gibson. We all saw the Dallas defense turn Kenyon Drake into a superstar. He cost me my fantasy matchup with that long touchdown run at the end of the game. The Dallas defense is one of the worst defenses you'll ever see. Every play is a chance to take the ball all the way to the house. Gibson is an explosive guy. He's going to have some chances to score not just one touchdown, but multiple. So definitely a sleeper pick. I was tempted to put him as my running back, and I was also tempted to put him as my flex guy. So absolutely start Antonio Gibson if you got him.
Smoke him if you got him.
I'm starting him at running back, not even just a flex or anything. I'm starting him at running back. So I agree with you. My sleeper this week is Christian Kirk. I know he only got 2 catches last week, but did you see what he did with those 2 catches for 2 touchdowns? And one was, I think he had 6 yards altogether.
Nah,
That's
you're
fine.
overreacting to the Bill and Big Catch boy.
You can wave your finger if you want to. I like his chances.
He was
this week.
good last week too. He's coming. He's coming on.
He's
Coming
not
on.
good though.
Hey, but again, it's the all right, Fuller, calm down. It's the Seahawks secondary. If I could list other receivers in this lineup as sleepers, I would, but he's the one that qualifies. So therefore he's my sleeper. So I'm taking a risk thinking that they're going to try their best to stop Hopkins, and he's going to be open again for those long shots. Because as he proved last week, he really only has to hit one of those plays for him to be my hit and sleeper. If it's another long one like that. So I like Christian Kirk this week.
I like Christian Kirk too, and I think you saw a little bit. Listen, Kyler is a good fantasy quarterback. He's not a very good real life quarterback, and he missed DeAndre Hopkins a ton of times. DeAndre Hopkins only got 1 catch that was fantasy relevant for the purposes of gaining points. It was bad.
6 yards in
Christian
front.
Kirk, they're trying to get him in any way they can involved in the offense. I like Christian Kirk. I was in on Christian Kirk before the season started, got a little bit out of him, and now he's picking up steam, and I think that he'll continue to pick up steam.
Speaking of picking up steam, we're really rolling towards the end here, but let's keep it going. Zach, who is your sleeper?
Look, when Justin Herbert was drafted, the first thing that he did was get on the phone and he talked to Mike Williams. He said, Mike, we got to go to St. Augustine, Florida, to this alligator farm, and we got a zip line. We have to go and see this guy named John Bob actually wrestle alligators in the Everglades. Let's go, St. Augustine, me and you, bonding time. And you know what Mike said? He said, sure. And you're seeing that trip actually come to fruition on the field. It's all about what they do in the offseason, these quarterbacks and wide receivers building this chemistry, and they have an unparalleled chemistry going on right now. 8 targets last week or 2 weeks ago versus the Saints. Mike Williams was catching everything because he's not going to let down his Gator boy. He's never going to let down the Gator boy. And he is the apple of Herbert's eye. And let me say this. They're going back to their stomping grounds, to where they went to, Jacksonville, Florida, the home of the Gator Farms. And these two Gator boys, they're going to go all over those Jacksonville Jaguars, who have the 32nd ranked pass DVOA defense. And the Chargers have the 7th best offensive DVOA pass offense. And the Gator boys going to roll.
I thought you were going to say that. I thought he was going to say that Mike Williams said no to that trip, which is why it took him 6 weeks to get on the same page. But I do like the pick for this week, and I like the pick going forward. Mike Williams is a stud.
Well, Mike Williams had a little bit of injury issues.
Yeah.
Was it Gator related?
Well, I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yikes.
You guys have some great sleeper picks this week, and I know that because I was a little late getting to my picks today, working very hard on the shop all day long. I didn't have time to analyze fantasy football as much as I wanted to.
About?
The future coming soon Broadway Sports Media Shop, which is going to have tons of great cool merch and apparel, and not just Broadway Sports logos, but like some pretty sweet stuff that you guys are just going to have to wait
including
and see.
Body pillows.
Well, we'll see about the body pillows. No firm decisions have been made
You can
yet.
get your Flex Gator Boy official Flex Gator Boys t-shirt at the Broadway shop.
That would be an amazing T-shirt.
There will be a
actually.
Flex Gator Boys T-shirt. We're already working on the design right now, so that will be coming soon. But
It's
until
going in Zach's notebook. Gator Boys.
Gator Boy.
Gator
It was
Boy
already in
shirt.
my notebook.
until then, as he read it out of his note. Until then, I just want to say I was going to pick Mike Williams as my sleeper when I saw that Zach had already done so. I was going to pick Antonio Gibson as my sleeper when I saw that Rob had already done so. And I was not going to pick Christian Kirk as my sleeper at any point.
All right, well, listeners, I got to apologize to you because we've come to the end of our show. Maybe? Nobody else wants to talk? All right, so we're done here. Remember, be sure to check out all the other podcast articles that Broadway Sports has to offer at BroadwaySportsMedia.com. Partner with 440 Sports. Be sure to make that switch over your Broadway account over to the Hummerdinger Foundation account. Make sure to catch Zach and JG at 10:30 Central on Fantasy Overtime. It's great stuff. Follow Broadway Sports on Twitter at BroadwayTN and the show at Flex on Broadway. Also, be sure to check out our Facebook and Instagram. Rate, subscribe. Thank y'all for following. It's getting some big numbers on YouTube. Really appreciate it. We're having fun. Hope y'all are having fun too. Leave us a comment if you liked it. See you next time, Flexers. We're out.
JG's head has disappeared.
You're not going to do it, but you should have an apology counter in the middle somewhere or somewhere.
I apologize for not putting an apology. That is not the way I'm trying to be.
I apologize for just now getting into previewing week 7 that I haven't done more fan fiction.
It was good. That was really good.
Yeah.
Good.
A Broadway Sports Media production.